Hey crafters! So today we are going to be learning how to do a certain pattern. And this is a pattern that I showed in one of my previous videos when I was talking about Lion Brand's homespun yarn when I did a review on that, and I showed you guys this blanket. And today I'm going to show you how to do the pattern that I'm using on this blanket. If you look at the top edge here, you can see how it's a little bit bumpy, and you can kind of see these clusters. How there's a cluster here and a cluster here, one here. You can kind of see the different colored clusters. And so this is a shell pattern. And so shells are basically when you do a bunch of the same stitch in a spot. So this one uses double crochet. And so in each of these clusters, these little bumps here, I do 5 double crochet in the same spot. So it kind of creates this little like shell look where the stitches kind of go out like this. And so they nestle together really nicely. I'll show you down here. You can see down here how the colors, because they're variegated, how the shells stand out really nicely. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how to crochet this pattern. Okay, so it seems like in every one of my last few videos I've been trying new ways to film. So I'm actually kind of got my arms leaning on the tripod, so hopefully I don't bump it too much, and hopefully this works. So we'll give this a go, and so you can see it clearly. So to start the pattern, you're going to, make a slip knot, and we're going to need to make our foundation chain. And for this pattern, what's nice about it is you can easily make it different lengths. So like with the blanket, I made that one really long chain to start with. But if you were making, say, a scarf, you wanted it to be narrow, you could make it smaller. So the way you scale this pattern is you chain a multiple of 6 plus 2. So for example, I'm going to chain 12 stitches because 12 is a multiple of 6, and then I'm going to add 2 additional chains. So I'm going to have a total of 14 chains here. Okay, so here I am with my chain, and the basic idea is the pattern is formed of these double crochet clusters of 5 in single crochet. So the double crochet clusters form that bump, and then the single crochet goes between the bump, and then you'll have another bump of clusters, and it'll make sense as we go along. Now normally what we do is we crochet in the tops of these loops here, but for this particular pattern I think it looks better if you flip the chain over. Oh, my hook's getting caught. Flip the chain over. You can see there's these other bumps on the back. We're going to insert our hook here for this pattern. It'll just give it a nicer smoothed out look. So I'm going to skip the first chain, come to the second chain, and instead of inserting here like normal, we're going to come to the back to that little bump right there. And I'm going to insert my hook into this bump. Whoop. I sometimes do my chains a little tight, so you might notice me having trouble. I need to work on that. So now I'm going to do a single crochet in this spot. So just yarn over, pull through, and then pull through 2. So I've got a single crochet right here, and now it's time to make the first cluster, or the first shell bump. So I'm going to count and skip 2 of these bumps on the back. So I'm not going to go in here, and I'm not going to go in here, but I'm going to go in at this third one. So I'm going to insert, well, before I insert my hook, because we're doing a double crochet here, I need to yarn over. So 1, 2, 3, insert the hook here. And in this same spot right here, I'm going to do a total of 5 double crochet. So I'm going to start with my first one. And then for the remaining 4, I'm going to go into this exact same spot as I did the first one. Let's pause here and talk about what we've got so far. We have a single crochet here in this one spot, then we skipped 2 chains, and then we did 5 double crochet all in the same one chain. And so you can see how they kind of create that nice shell pattern that kind of fans out. And that's what's going to create the bumps of the pattern. And so from here, it's pretty simple to finish this first row. We're going to, once more, we're going to skip 2. Let me change my camera focus. We're going to skip 2 chains. So I'm going to skip here, and I'm going to go in the third one. And we're going to do just 1 single crochet in this spot, just like normal. And then we're going to do, we have room for 1 more shell pattern on this chain. So we're going to count 1, 2, we're going to go in at the third spot here, but because we're doing double crochet now, We need to yarn over before we insert the hook and insert it and do 5 double crochet in the same spot to complete the cluster. Now, just as we did before, once we finish the cluster, we're going to kind of fasten it down so this end isn't loose and falling all over the place. We're going to fasten it down by doing a single crochet. So we're going to skip 1 spot, skip 2 spot, go in the 3rd, which is also our last spot on this chain that I did, and we'll complete a single crochet. So here's what we've got so far. You might notice that it's not looking super even along the end. That's because I do my chains a little bit tight sometimes, and so it's kind of pulling it in. But I could block this when I'm done, but usually I'm too lazy to block, so it'll probably just be staying like this. But you can see the shells start to form. So let's talk about how we do the next row. Because the next row, the idea is we're going to put shells in between, kind of nestled in this spot here, and nestled in this spot, and nestled in this spot. So we're going to start by chaining 3 to go up to the next row. And you might be wondering now, where do we work our first cluster? And the idea is we're going to work it here in this single crochet from the previous row. But if we do all 5 stitches of the cluster right here, it's going to bend out this way, and then our pattern would just keep getting wider and wider as we go. So instead of doing a full cluster, which would be 5 double crochet, we're going to do half a cluster and do 3 double crochet. Also pay attention that this chain 3 we did counts as our first double crochet. So in this chain, the single crochet spot right here from the previous row, we're going to do 2 more double crochet. And this is going to form our half cluster, and that's going to give us nice straight edges. And so just as before, we want to fasten this half cluster down with a single crochet. Now, we can count 1, 2, 3 and go in there. That's one way to count. Or if you look, you'll notice that we're going to go, this is our 5 cluster, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go in the middle, in the top of the middle stitch from our cluster. So just insert the hook and complete a single crochet stitch. And then now we're going to go to our next spot when we're going to work our clusters in the single crochet spots from the previous round. So we're going to do 5 single crochet in this spot right here. And as before, we're going to fasten down with a single crochet in the top middle of this previous row's cluster. So count 1, 2, 3 right here and do a single crochet. Now we're once again at an edge, and we've got a single crochet from the previous row right here. And so again, we're going to do a half cluster, which means instead of doing 5 double crochet like we do in these big ones, we're just going to do 3 like we did here. So 3 double crochet right in that last single crochet from the previous row. And that's the basic idea. Hopefully you can see the pattern starting to form. I'll go ahead and I'll do one more row so you can kind of get the idea. So for this row, because we're now in the top middle of a cluster, instead of doing a double crochet up and doing a cluster right there, what goes in the middle of clusters? The single crochet that holds down the clusters. So we're just going to chain 1, turn our work, and do a single crochet right in the top of this half cluster on their edge. And now can you guess where we're going to go next? That's right, we're going to do 5 double crochet to form a cluster right here. And so you can notice that every other row, the clusters kind of stack. So on our next row, there'll be a cluster right up here above this one. So every other row, the clusters will kind of stack, and they all just nestle against each other from each row. So then we'll do a single crochet in the top middle of the previous row's cluster. And then we just keep going. We're going to do 5 double crochet in this single crochet little valley from the previous row. And then to finish this row, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the top of our chain 3 from the previous round, or previous row. And there you go. The process that I used for the second row and the third row, you're just going to keep repeating those and alternate. So this next row will be just like when we did this row. The row following that will be just like row 3. The row following that will be just like row 2, the row following that just like row 3, and the pattern will keep repeating, and you'll get this nice shell pattern. So there you go. Now you know a cool pattern that you can do that uses just our basic stitches. It just uses double crochet and single crochet. And so if you've been watching along in my videos and you've been practicing your stitches, this pattern should be a piece of cake, but it's also really cool because it gives you a glimpse of how you can use those basic stitches to get all kinds of different textures. One last thing I'll throw out as far as this project goes, I'm nowhere near done with it yet, but you can kind of see all the cool colors and things that it's that the yarn is causing it to have. And I talked about this yarn and this pattern a little bit in my Lion Brand Homespun review video, but I'll go ahead and I'll mention this here. This yarn is great for using with this pattern because of the cluster kind of pattern that you do and how everything kind of nestles together. You know, the concern with this yarn is splitting the yarn, which is when the hook is too small, and instead of wrapping around the yarn, it actually ends up kind of inserting through the yarn, which is called splitting the yarn. So what's nice about this pattern is if you do split the yarn, it's kind of hard to tell just because the yarn's fluffy and this pattern itself is kind of this nestled, fluffy kind of pattern. And also I would recommend if you are using this yarn for this pattern, the packaging recommends a size K hook, but I've been using a size N hook for this pattern. By going up a hook size, it just helps me to not, split the yarn as much, and it works a little faster too, which is nice. It makes the yarn a lot more easy to work with. So best of luck with this pattern, and I hope it works well for you. So bye until next time. I don't know what to do, cause I wanna film something cool, but I don't know what to do, and I'm gonna look like a fool, cause I want to make the clips funny at the end, so that way you, the viewers, will come back again and again. Oh, okay, that was just weird. But anyways, hopefully you get the idea. I try to, throw something fun in at the end so that way you guys keep watching, because I really want you guys to keep coming back, and I want you guys to always like and subscribe below and comment with your ideas. Go check out the blog. We can just keep connecting that way in the big crafting world. So until next time.